Welcome back. My name is Erica, and in this week's coffee chat, I want to talk all about cleaning. So I want to share some tips and tricks that have helped me stay on top of all the clutter and just manage my home. So stick with me, and we're gonna dive into all of that here in a second. So I have my notes with me here. I wrote down a ton of thoughts that I had regarding cleaning. And before I get into this, I just want to talk a little bit about my journey and acknowledge a few things. So I have been a stay-at-home mom for almost 8 years now, and I've been through a lot of different stages. And even before becoming a mother, I've never lived alone. I went from living with my parents to living with my now husband. So I never had that experience, but I did have the married life experience where it was just my husband and I. There really wasn't a set cleaning schedule. There wasn't a lot of mess. But when it came to motherhood, that was a whole new ball game. And I just want to acknowledge that if you're a new mother, a new wife, homemaker, whatever stage you're in, it's all different, and just acknowledge that things change and you have to adapt and you have to learn new ways to stay on top of your home and just figure out what works best for you. I know in the early days of my motherhood, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I've talked about this in my intro coffee chat, that I went from working full-time to moving to a new state and having a baby all within a couple of weeks. And it was a huge adjustment for me. On top of that, my daughter had a really tough time sleeping. We ended up having another one within 2 years. So my kids are almost exactly 2 years apart. Their birthdays are just a few days apart. And so basically for about 5 years, I didn't get a full night's sleep. And that's not really an exaggeration. That was just part of my journey. It's obviously much better now. Things don't stay the same, so just know that. But when it comes to staying on top of the home, that was a struggle. It was a struggle. I was tired. I had really little ones that you're running around, making messes. You feel like you're just in the trenches. You're always trying to stay on top of, cleaning up, and it becomes really mundane. And it's kind of a head game, I'm not gonna lie. So if you're in that stage, just know that it won't last forever and you will come out of it and it'll feel like a breath of fresh air. But hopefully some of these things that I'm about to share will help you, maybe get a little bit of a routine, and just figure out what works best for you. So I just wanted to say that and acknowledge that. And if you're in that stage, I totally understand. Now I'm in a stage where my kids are getting older and they have some responsibilities. And so there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not all bad. And in that stage of motherhood, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. But every stage of life has different challenges. So acknowledge that, know that it won't last forever and things will change. And implementing some of these things hopefully will help you if you're struggling with that. So first, I just want to talk about understanding how you learn and understanding how you're motivated. I think we all obviously have different personalities and therefore we are motivated in different ways. I know for me, I am motivated by checking things off a list. I am a huge list person. I have multiple lists everywhere. I have notes in my phone in the notes section. I have notes on paper. I have notes in my planner and lists. Not notes. I have lists in all of those places, and I feel very accomplished and motivated when I'm checking things off. Now, there have been times in my life where I decided to ditch the list, and because I felt like I was a slave to the list a little bit, and it was just kind of, if I didn't get things crossed off, I felt like I didn't accomplish anything that day. So I went a good 6 or 8 months with really not following a list. That didn't work so well for me, I'm not gonna lie, but I did learn to lighten up on myself a little bit and know that it's okay if you're not crossing things off your list. And a lot of the things on my list had to do with household chores and getting things clean and all of that. And it just became a lot. So I want you, if you're totally new to this or if you're struggling, just think about how you are motivated, what makes you feel accomplished, but also know that it's okay if you don't have everything done. It's okay if you go to bed with a messy kitchen once in a while. It's okay if you forgot to sweep. It's okay if your kid's room is a disaster. It's okay if the whole house is a disaster. Like, it's okay. It's going to be there for you the next day, and you can tackle it then, maybe when you have a better headspace, when you've gotten some sleep. Like, it's okay. But going back to what I said, know what motivates you and how you feel accomplished. So some things that I wrote down is something I've tried, especially when it comes to the deep cleaning type of chores, is having a checklist just on my fridge of everything that needs to be done, throughout the year. So cleaning the water filter, dusting the fans, I don't know, those deep cleaning type of things that you're not going to do every day, and you're probably not going to really remember to put them into your routine. And something that helped me in the past was having that on my fridge as a visual and then adding it into my planner as I needed. So I'd look at it, okay, like I broke it down by month. In July, I need to do all the ceiling fans. In August, I need to do this, and just kind of broke it down that way. That wasn't for the daily chores or anything like that, but at least it helped me stay on top of those deep cleaning type of things. I've also seen people do the daily checklist that they'll have up on their refrigerator, and it's not one that you're crossing off, but at least it has all of the things that you want to have accomplished daily or every other day, whatever that may be. So having that visual sometimes can be really helpful, as opposed to just, crossing things off a list. At least you're just seeing, okay, oh, I didn't do that, let me do that today. Or incorporating all of those deep cleaning things into your normal set routine. Some people might just do well with the mental list. I have that, but I also like to write it down and cross things off. I don't know. If you're like me, let me know that I'm not crazy. I know there's other people out there like me. It's like so satisfying to cross things off a list. But yeah, maybe you just have a mental list. Maybe you have a planner or a notebook, or you just kind of go with the flow. I wouldn't say that I'm super type A personality, but I've got a lot of traits of that. So anyway, establish what motivates you and figure out how you're going to go about feeling good about all the chores that you're doing. So the next thing I want to talk about is finding your rhythm. If you watch a lot of homemaking channels and stuff, they'll talk about their daily rhythms as a homemaker and things like that. And I don't know that I really understood what that was, because for a while I felt like I was just living in chaos and I was just trying to survive, trying to get it all done, and I felt like I was failing miserably. But now that my kids are a little bit older, I feel like I've gotten in a good routine. It's not super set, like I don't stick to it super perfectly, but at least it helps me just kind of go with the flow. So my rhythm, for example, is I have been running the dishwasher every single night. Now, it's the summer, so we're all here, and especially on the weekends, we've got tons of dishes, and so I have a full dishwasher. I, on the other hand, like to save money and things like that. So if I don't have a full dishwasher, I'm probably not going to fill it or to run it. But most of the time I do. And so I'm running the dishwasher every single night. Now that doesn't mean that I don't have any dishes in my sink. I am not one to hand wash everything else that's in my sink. My mom does that, or used to do that. Kudos to her. I hate washing dishes. It's probably like the worst chore that I have. It's terrible. So I don't do that. So sometimes I do still have dishes in my sink. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. But once the dishwasher is going, I feel like I've done my part, and I'll wait until we can empty it the next day. So that's one thing in my rhythms. I try to run the dishwasher every night, because that way in the morning, then my kids can unload it. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit later. But now they're at the age where I'm starting to give them responsibilities. And because they're home this summer, they each unload. One unloads the top, one unloads the bottom, and then I can fill it back up again. So incorporating them into the chores helps tremendously. You know, they can help out with those kinds of things. And it's not taking up tons of their time. Now, if they're, you know, not paying attention and not really staying on task, it might take them longer. But I always tell them, you know, the faster you get it done, the faster you can go on and play and do other things. So that's one of the rhythms that I do. The next is that I sweep or vacuum the high traffic areas every day at the end of the day, usually after supper. We're making tons of messes. There's crumbs all over the floor. Sometimes I do it throughout the day, like if it's bothering me or it's really bad, obviously. But otherwise, I save it till after supper. I sweep the living room and the kitchen and dining room, and I don't really do anything else with the other spaces, unless they need it, of course. But that seems like a smaller chunk to tackle than doing all the floors throughout the entire house. Now, when we had our dog, you know, he shed a lot, so I felt like I was doing that a lot more often. But now it's just kind of making sure that I sweep up. We don't have to worry about bugs and stuff. And then that's it as far as a daily thing goes. I also do try to, quote unquote, put the kitchen to bed. Again, like I said, sometimes the sink has dishes in it, but I at least try to, you know, get the counters cleaned off and stuff like that. I'm not really taking tons of time to do this, but it does make you feel good when you wake up and you have a clean kitchen or a clean space that you're spending a lot of time in. So I do try to do that as well. In terms of things like the laundry, I don't do laundry every day. I did share a little bit about my laundry routine and how I tackle things like that. I'll put the video up above here. But what I do try to do is, again, I'm very visual. So we have laundry baskets in each of our rooms. So mine and my husband's room, my kids' room, and then the bathroom. When one is filled, that is a whole load of laundry. I put that in, and in one day, I make sure that it is washed and dried. Sometimes I'll wash and dry a load, take the load out of the dryer, put it in a basket, and then do one other full load, and that load stays in the dryer. And then the next day, I can tackle folding everything. I rarely do an entire load of laundry in one day. I don't know why. I like to split it up because I feel like, okay, I got a load of laundry done, or I got 2 loads of laundry washed and dried. Then the next day, I can fold everything, hang things. I don't know. That works for me. If you have a bigger family, that might not work for you. You might have to be doing laundry every single day. It really just depends on your situation. But when it comes to that, that is how I tackle kind of the daily rhythm type thing. Now, when it comes to the weekly type chores, there's a couple main ones. Of course, as things come up, I clean them, right? But in terms of what happens every single week, every Friday or every weekend, we change our sheets. So everybody strips down their beds. The kids are capable of doing that at their ages. So they strip their beds and put them in the washer or put them in the laundry basket. I will put their sheets back on their beds for them. And in the previous video that you saw, I did strip their beds for them. Usually that's a chore that they do. It's kind of fun for them, actually. But weekly, we are washing and changing sheets. Weekly, I am mopping the floors. Like I said, I don't do that every day. If you've got little ones that are crawling on the floor, or you've got pets, you might want to do that more frequently, but that's not really our situation right now. So I'm okay with mopping, taking the time to do all the floors once a week. And then what else do I do once a week? Oh, the bathroom. We only have one bathroom. And so I clean the entire bathroom once a week. That doesn't include the shower and tub. I usually do that like every other week. Depends on how dirty it gets. But again, that's one of those things as needed, or, you know, it's mostly as needed as I see it, or I'm like, oh, I haven't done that in a while. I probably should do that type of thing. But those are kind of the core chores that I'm doing daily and weekly. And that has helped me mentally just, okay, I know what has to happen, and I don't even have to really add it to my list to check off. It's just part of my routine. So I encourage you, if you haven't gotten into a routine and you're wanting to do so, start with one thing. Start with vacuuming every day. Get that into your routine. They say it takes, like 21 days to create a habit and to get something into your routine. So start small. Vacuum every single day or sweep every single day. Start with that and then build up. And eventually you're going to have this rhythm and this routine. And of course, as your kids are getting older, as the seasons change, kids are going back to school, whatever that may be, you might have to adapt a little bit, and that's okay. But just having things part of your routine really makes tackling the cleaning so much better. And it becomes less of a chore. I mean, it's always a chore, right? But it's less of a burden, I guess I would say, if you've got it just in your natural routine. I realize I haven't had any of my coffee. That's the whole point of this, right? Is to chat and drink coffee. So I'm going to have a sip. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is getting the whole family involved. I talked a little bit about my kids. For reference, my kids are 5 and 7, and over the last year or so, I've really been getting them involved in some of the household chores. Now, before that, can I help you? Like, yeah, of course. Like, I involve them as they wanted to, or, they do a couple little bit of things, but now they've got some set chores, and they don't get an allowance. That might be controversy, but I don't give them allowance for doing these types of chores. I feel that we're all part of the family. We all play a role. My biggest thing is, if you make a mess, you clean it up. If you make a mess, I don't care. Go ahead and make your mess, but you will be responsible for cleaning it up. Now, my kids get plenty of opportunities to get rewards and things like that. So don't think that I'm just like, hammering the chores and things like that. The chores that they do are very minimal. They don't take a lot of time, and I feel that they're age appropriate. So you make your own call in terms of having your kids be a part of chores and having responsibilities. You decide how you want to reward them. I've just found that I think, we're all a part of our family. We all have our roles and we all help each other out. So some of the chores that they do, like I mentioned, they strip their beds for me. So every week they strip their beds, put their sheets in the washer and dryer, or the washer or the laundry basket. That's their chore, not a big deal. Every night we have them clean their room. My motto is, it does not have to be perfect, but I at least need to be able to walk through your room, and you can't be tripping on things if you have to get up in the middle of the night. So we need to put things away as best we can. They work together. They're both responsible for it. They share their room. So making sure that we have a clean space every night. Again, does not have to be perfect, but it needs to be done, because if we make a mess, we clean it up. Let's see. They empty the dishwasher together, as I said. So one picks the top, one picks the bottom, and they put away as many things as they can. And then my husband and I will put away anything that they can, anything that's high up, whatever. That is their least favorite chore, I will say. And it has been their main chore. Like, I don't empty the dishwasher hardly at all. They don't love it, but they do it. It's part of their routine. Maybe eventually I'll switch it up and they can have a different chore. I know I follow a woman. She has, I think, like 5 or 6 kids, and every kid has one chore that they do for the whole year, and then they switch. If that works for your family, great. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I guess they get really good at their chore, and then they can teach the next kid that gets to do the chore. I don't know. That's one way to do it. So that's another one of their chores. Let's see. Clearing the table. So after their meals, putting their plates in the sink and clearing off the table from any crafts that they might do, things like that. Putting their shoes away. Oftentimes they'll kick their shoes, when we get home. So putting those away where they belong. Putting clothes away. So I fold all the laundry and they're responsible for putting the clothes back in their drawers. I don't care how their drawers look. They just need to be put away. They can deal with the mess of the drawer if they can't find things. Eventually they're going to learn, okay, maybe I shouldn't just shove my clothes in my drawer. But I don't care how it looks, but they have to put their clothes away. I hang their clothes up for them because I can't really reach it that well. So again, you can Google lists of age-appropriate chores and do whatever works for your family. You know, if you live on a farm or if you have outdoor chores or pets or things like that, you know, seeing what they can do in terms of those types of chores. But that's my philosophy on chores, and it really has been so helpful having them involved. And I think that they feel good about their involvement too. Like they feel accomplished when they've cleaned their room, and you know, they just feel good about the things they're doing. And I so appreciate it. And I make sure that I tell them how much that I appreciate it, because they don't have to do chores, right? Like I don't have to make them do chores, but I think it's a really good thing for them to learn, to have a sense of responsibility. And I want to make sure that I'm raising kids that are going to be self-sufficient when they go out into the world. I want them to know how to do things and be able to take care of themselves. Of course, they can always call us, but I want them to be confident in how to take care of their homes, how to take care of themselves, all of that. So we're starting young, and we all are working together as a family. Okay, another thing I want to really touch on, and I'm sorry if this is random, this was like my brain dump and I tried to organize everything as best I could, but I want to talk about cleaning products really quick. If you followed my channel or followed my blog, I share a lot of homemade type of cleaning products, and I do want to say that if you're on the path to living a more natural life, which I have been for a while, that it can get overwhelming, and you can feel like you have to make everything from scratch, and you have to have everything that is non-toxic and this and that and the other thing. And while I do think that's great and wonderful, it can also be expensive, and it can also just make you kind of feel like you're not doing enough. So I want to say that I am about 50-50 in terms of natural products versus conventional. Would I like to get to 100% all natural products? Yes, in theory. However, I feel like some of the natural products that I have tried just don't work as well. And I'm still on the hunt. I'm not going to give up, but I'm also not willing to spend tons and tons of money. We do live on a budget. And so sometimes I just buy the conventional things. So in the previous video that I shared, I was using my all-purpose cleaner. I love it. I use it to dust, to do windows with, to do all sorts of things. I'll leave the link to that recipe below. It's super easy to make. But then I also buy Clorox wipes or disinfecting wipes. I clean my bathroom with the disinfecting things. And I also use like the Lysol toilet bowl cleaner. I've tried to use the less chemically type cleaners, whatever, that's not a word. I just didn't like them as much. So there are a few things that I just, you know, I'm just going to buy them. And especially when it comes to the bathroom, I do want that to be sanitized. We try not to over sanitize everything, but you know, I do want that to be clean. So once a week, it gets the Clorox wipe, and I feel okay about it. I'm not doing it all the time, whatever. I use bleach. Now that is something that I never did before, but moving here, our tub is tile and it gets gross. And the only way to clean it is with bleach. Do I like it? No, but it is what it is. On the flip side, I do make my own grout cleaner, which works really good. And I just use peroxide, baking soda, and dish soap. So there's that. Let's see, what else do I make? I make my own floor cleaner. So it's just hot water, soap, alcohol, and some essential oils and vinegar. So I'm 50-50 on it. I hope that you don't feel ashamed that you use, you know, conventional cleaning products. Just know that if you're kind of in that realm and you're kind of trying to figure that all out, it's okay. If it's 50-50, it's okay if you use conventional products. We're all trying to get better. We're all trying to figure out what we like and what works for us. So hopefully you don't feel any shame around that. I know that's a random sort of tidbit, but it does kind of go with the theme of cleaning and how I approach it. So I did just want to share that just a little bit. All right. Last section that I want to talk about is staying on top of clutter and staying on top of things, right? So we're all bringing stuff in, we're buying new things, and sometimes it can feel like your stuff is caving in on you. And I feel like that a lot, actually. And it's not that we have a lot of, we have a normal amount of stuff, right? But we're always bringing things in, which means we need to be taking things out. And so I try to periodically go through the different spaces of my home and get rid of stuff. I have a donation bin in my closet, and anytime something doesn't fit my kids, or like I'm kind of not feeling something, or there's something my husband wants to get rid of, it goes in the bin. If I want to take it out, I can. It's not like I go donate all the time, probably once a month, maybe not even that often, every other month, whatever it might be, whenever I have enough stuff to get rid of. But you can put it in the bin, see if you can live without it. More than likely, you're going to forget about it. It gets donated and that's stuff out of your house. So that's one way, is just getting rid of stuff as you go, or, taking the time to go through your kids' drawers, to go through your dresser, to go through your closet, go through the kitchen. Just get rid of stuff you're not needing. If you don't need it, if you haven't used it in a year, probably don't need it. Now, there have been times I've donated things, and then like a few weeks later, I'm like, oh, like I hadn't used it for a year or whatever, and then I got rid of them. I'm like, oh, probably could have used that. But it is what it is. Most of the time, you probably don't need it. The other way I stay on top of clutter is by not keeping as much stuff. For example, in my kitchen, I don't have multiples of everything, right? I feel like I've got more in my kitchen than I ever have, just because I'm, doing recipes and different things for the blog and trying new things. But I do try to keep things minimal. So I have one stock pot, I have one regular size saucepan and one small saucepan. I've got my cast iron, I have a Dutch oven, and I just got an Instant Pot, which I'm so excited about, and I'm going to be sharing some things here next week. I'll be sharing some fun new recipes that I'm trying in the kitchen. But I don't have a crock pot anymore. So for 10 years I had a crock pot. It sadly cracked. So I finally got an Instant Pot, and I'm going to use that as both. I don't have an air fryer. I don't have to go through everything in my kitchen, but I don't have multiples of things. I have the essentials. If there's something that I'm missing in my kitchen, I'll get it. But I try to buy things that have multiple uses, things that I'm going to use all the time, not something that I'm going to use once a month, or I don't even know an example, like an avocado slicer. Do I really need that? Probably not. I don't know. That's just an example. If you have one of those, don't take offense to it. I'm just saying, for me, I can just use a knife. It's not that big of a deal for me. So keeping less things, going through, constantly donating, and just getting rid. If you're bringing stuff into your home, unless of course it's something you actually need and it's not really replacing something, then whatever. But if you're getting new clothes, maybe get rid of some old clothes. If you're buying new shoes, maybe get rid of your old shoes if you're not going to wear them. If they're in good shape or you can clean them up, try selling them or try getting rid of them. In terms of selling, I use Mercari. I'll leave a link down below if you've never heard of it. It's basically like an online thrift store. I have sold so many things on there. A lot of my husband's stuff, he wears, nice things for work. So a lot of Under Armour and Nike and things like that. And I have sold so many of his things on there. So if you've got higher quality items, it might be worth putting them on Mercari or Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace even. I don't know. I've never sold anything on there. But anyway, staying on top of the clutter, it does take effort, but it feels good to purge. Feels good to get rid of things. I promise you. It's worth the time, and that way your stuff isn't overwhelming you, and it also helps to keep your house less cluttered. So those are all of my tidbits. Hopefully you found this video interesting. Again, like I said, this is kind of a brain dump, but hopefully you were able to get a few things out of it, especially if you're a new mother, a new homemaker, whatever that might be, and you're overwhelmed. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. But thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. If you want to see more videos like this, I try to make one of these coffee chats every week on different topics. I also usually have another video that I'm sharing something else. So if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. But thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.